Right, looking at the hip joint, first motion is flexion, abduction and internal rotation. So with influence in the sagittal plane, we're just taking a step forward and reaching right down. Influence in frontal plane is a bit more frontal plane motion and reaching down. Okay, making sure this foot just comes in front so that pelvis comes round. And then transverse plane will be just reaching down in rotation. Sagittal and the frontal plane will just be coming in lateral there, big reach down. Sagittal transverse will be pivot round, more pivot with the foot, and then just reaching down. Try to keep his back foot facing forward. Frontal transverse, we're looking at a little less reach down, more frontal transverse plane motion, probably coming out there a little bit more abduction, and all three together will just be trying to get big pivot, reaching round, and hands right down in here. Okay, looking at hip flexion, adduction and internal rotation. So front foot gate, so influence sagittal plane, we'll just step forward with a reach down. Frontal plane, we're just going to come across the body and we'll just internally rotate just the right foot in transverse plane. And we're going to influence sagittal and frontal, we'll just come across the body and we'll reach down. Sagittal transverse, we'll just rotate in and then it'll reach down. Frontal transverse, frontal will just be in here, and all three together is nice control. There, oh, gotta work on that glute. There, like so. Okay. Of the hip joint, we are looking at flexion, abduction and external rotation. So we're just looking initially with influence in the sagittal plane, influence in the frontal plane, and influence in transverse plane. Sagittal and frontal, we're just looking at from here, that reach down, taking that foot wide, slightly behind, midline, sagittal and transverse. Actually, we'll just start from position here and then coming down. Frontal, transverse, here, start in, and all three together, we'll start in here, somewhere just about there. Okay, good.
Okay.
So we're looking at flexion, adduction, and external rotation of the right hip. So sagittal plane, just turning the toe out, reaching down. Frontal plane, we are frontal plane, brain's gone, so we are just adding a bit of left lateral flexion, and with external rotation we are just rotating the arms left, sagittal frontal, just turning the toe out and reaching down. Sagittal transverse, just coming down, a little bit more flexion and a little bit more reach down to the left. Frontal transverse, or just coming forward, just taking left arm, left rotation, right arm, left lateral flexion, and bringing it all together. Looks something like yeah, so we are now on extension, or extending, abducting, and internally rotating that right hip, so back leg gate. So just to have a bit more of an influence, come from more flexed and just stepping through. So sagittal plane influence. We want frontal plane influence. We'll just come in and just ensure I'm getting some internal rotation. And transverse plane, we're just coming in. So not too much flexion just to start. Pivot there. Sorry, just going back. That will give us more, a little bit more in frontal plane. Sagittal and frontal, we can just do that one now. Okay, sagittal transverse, so we'll start from flexed. Up over the right shoulder, frontal transverse, we're looking at and all three together. Well, from here and up and over. Okay.
Go.
And we're looking at right hip, extending, adducting, externally rotating. So we'll start from a flex position, sagittal plane influence. From here, we're just taking it up. From a frontal plane influence, we'll just come in, we'll come in here. No, it's a bit too much transverse. So from here, we're just taking it a little bit further across. Okay, not so much of a reach. Starting flexed, going into extension, and with more external rotation, similar type motion, flexed. We'll start internal and just opening out. Okay, to get sagittal and frontal, we'll start a little bit more flexed. Opening up, sagittal transverse, we'll start in here, pivoted around. And frontal transverse, it's in here. And all three together, something like this. Okay, glutes academy.